From 11,000 feet in the sky, despite the dark clouds, the choppy weather and the sudden bursts of rain, there is a meditative calm over the Badrinath valley. After all, just below is the Badrinath temple complex, its yellow top looking like sunshine pushing through all the grey. It is believed that here in Badrinath valley, Lord Vishnu himself meditated, with his wife Lakshmi taking the form of a berry tree or Badri to offer him shade. Today, with the valley being ravaged by rain and destruction, that protective cover is being provided by the staggering heroism of the ITBP, the Air Force and the Army, as well as the private choppers. Their men navigate their way every day through the turbulent, unpredictable, very often hostile mountain terrain, knowing that their lives are at risk. Despite severe weather warnings, the rescue operations have continued their focus on Badrinath, an area which has remained cut off from the rest of the state, with thousands of stranded yatris and residents for the last 11 days. Initially, the evacuations were done by foot through ingenious ropeways like this one, set up by the ITBP to connect two giant boulders over the Alaknanda River, or over a Burma bridge built by the army to provide a 19-kilometer pathway for pilgrims and residents to walk down. Now the air operations have kicked in. The operations have to be squeezed into a tiny window of chance provided by the otherwise cruel, unfeeling weather. For instance, as soon as this Pavan Hans chopper touches down in Badrinath, the weather has already started showing signs of packing up, but the line of those wanting to leave is endless. We are here at Badrinath, where a few thousand people, pilgrims and locals included, have been stuck for the last many days. They have been safe, of course, but this area had been completely cut off from the rest of the state. Now these people are being taken out both by chopper and on foot in many cases, where the army has built a Burma bridge. Let's talk to some of them. आप लोग कहाँ से आए हैं?
इंदौर मध्य प्रदेश से।
इंदौर से। और कितने दिन से हैं यहाँ पे?
हम 11 रोज हो गए।
11 रोज यहाँ पे। और यहाँ पे क्या हालात थे खाना और पीने का?
परेशानी है, बहुत परेशानी। और खिचड़ी खाए,
एक
खिचड़ी खाते हमारा पेट नहीं भरा था। खिचड़ी से क्या होना जाए, बच्चे को लेके ले रहे।
लेकिन बहन जी, बाकी जगहों पे तो खाना पीना भी नहीं था, आप कम से कम ठीक तो थे?
ठीक तो है, पर परेशानी कितनी है, भटकते रहना पड़ता दिन।
कहाँ से आए हैं आप?
इंदौर से।
इंदौर से आए हैं। So people have come really from all over. You can see here below that there are women and children in raincoats and in rain jackets, because the weather, of course, could turn bad any moment now. And we're going to try and walk down and just talk to them here and just get a sense from where they've come from. And our camera person is also just tracking us. बहन जी, आप कहाँ से आई हैं?
ग्वालियर से।
ग्वालियर से। कितने दिन से हैं यहाँ पर?
15 तारीख से।
15 तारीख से। और बच्ची, थोड़ा डर लगा होगा?
लगा था, शुरू में लगा था, पर अभी तो खुशी हो रही।
The smile on this little girl's face is perhaps what spurs on the utter heroism of the men and women who have put their own safety aside to save thousands and thousands of lives. As news of the Mi-17 crash and the 8 tragic deaths trickles in, a spell of sadness is cast over the entire operation. But everyone knows the job must go on. Whether it's the Army, the Air Force or the Pavan Hans pilots, everyone here knows what's at stake and how suddenly the weather can shift, but they still remain stoic and amazingly philosophical. Captain Paramjeet, you've been ferrying the Pavan Hans choppers up and down, along with the military choppers. What's been the biggest challenge? We've just seen the weather has packed up all of a sudden.
Yeah, you see what happens is hills has got a very specific and peculiar kind of type of climate. You have, for a normal inexperienced pilot, he might see the hills covered with clouds and may not even venture out to carry out evacuation. But over a period of time, having flown about 25 years in the army and then now in the commercial flying, we know how it works, and as long as they're on the hilltops, we manage going through the valley and cover up. But then also that has got its own points. Like sometimes, they start traveling depending on how the winds are blowing. They start traveling down, and like you remember, like we went to Badrinath just now, so it was all clear, and when we were turning around, it was all covered. So then we tend and remain below the clouds, get into the valley. But then knowledge of the terrain is very important. We need to know where the wires are there. There's so many high tension cables around. So basically experience, and that's what I would say.
The Air Force Chief's missive was taken literally by his men. Just yesterday he said, The rotors will not stop churning till the last man and woman are out. Don't lose hope. Hang in there. Here at Joshimath is the main military base for the Army and the Air Force to launch their rescue and evacuation operations. Even at this moment, as you can see, it's raining down. The weather has really proved to be the biggest challenger to the evacuation process. What the Army and the Air Force have to do is to literally grab a short window when the weather permits them to go in and get people out. The fear, however, is that if it rains too much, those who are being evacuated on foot will have to walk down slippery tracks. Many of them are old, many of them are in a state of shock. So as much as possible, there are attempts to evacuate by air, even in Badrinath. Sometimes the bad weather is risked because the human story is so compelling. Today, for example, a chopper was sent back all the way to Gaurikund to unite a 12-year-old child with her parents. And the aircraft has gone back to get a little child, I believe, who's been separated from her parents.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about this family?
One family was there with a small child, around a girl, maybe around 12-13 years. Because there's so much of confusion out there, and there's no time. One after the another aircraft is coming for approach. So parents could implane the aircraft. Unfortunately, a small child could not.
But you're going to find her, bring her back.
So today we have traced the girl, and today one of our aircraft has gone there, and led by our Squadron 2IC. He has gone there, and most probably by now he must have evacuated.
These happy endings have been made possible by an unimaginable heroism, as our men and women in uniform rise to a Himalayan challenge. And when you look up at the sky, the choppers indeed are still hovering over the valley here in Badrinath and Kedarnath, saving lives, doing their duty, often unsung by India. In Uttarakhand with Manoj Thakur and Ruby Dhingra, Barkha Dutt for NDTV.